Hello, we have a guest, Kat, from Strathclyde Sport. Would you like to give a little introduction about yourself and then a little bit more about what you do at Strathclyde?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Tilda. Yes, my name's Kat. I am the Active Lifestyle Officer at Strathclyde Sport. My role kind of has a few remits to it. So I encourage as much in terms of staff and students activity and healthy lifestyle as possible. I also work with a lot of staff and students kind of individually to increase their activity levels, to improve their mental health and well-being. I'm in charge of a number of different health promotions to kind of, again, just spread the message out there about activity and active lifestyles. I work with Disability and Wellbeing and Sustainable Strathclyde, as well as the Sports Union and the Student Union, to try and promote activity-based events and activity-based promotions. And I also am in charge of some of the webpage stuff and some of the stuff that we do on social media and our websites. So I kind of do quite a lot of things, but my main kind of focus is on encouraging activity for the community of Strathclyde University.
Okay, wow, that sounds great. Would you have any general well-being tips, especially maybe during these times, how to keep a positive mindset and taking care of our mental and physical health?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us are feeling a little bit, probably a wee bit more down. I think you have to really think about what works for you as an individual in terms of things like this, because not everybody will be the same. But I think you have to be really quite careful about working out what makes you feel better and what improves your mood and boosts your well-being, and then just being really conscious to try and make an effort to do those things. So for somebody like me, I feel a lot better when I get outside and I get some, sunlight sometimes in Scotland and fresh air. So I'll try really hard to get to a park, or I stay in kind of city centre, so I'll maybe go up to Spears Wharf to be by the water. For me, those things can be quite beneficial, and I do feel much better when I come back. Yeah. I also really benefit from things like a routine. So say, for example, every day at 1 o'clock, I tend to go for a walk now, and that is really good for me to just kind of keep me going. It means that if I'm doing any work, I've got quite a good schedule between 9 and 1, and then I have a break, and then I come back. And I think, just really pinpointing what will work for you, because like I said at the start, everyone is different. But I mean, just in terms of general advice, things that I mentioned, so trying to get some sort of activity into your routine somehow, whether that's walking, whether that's doing another form of exercise that you enjoy. Maybe if you feel like you're particularly stressed out with a minute, or you really want to get a little bit more headspace, doing things like yoga, meditation, mindfulness can be really beneficial. Getting out to nature, trying to get out when it's still sunlight. I mean, like I said, a routine can be really good, but in some ways I tell people to throw their routine away, because I would just keep your eye on your window, and as soon as it's not raining, then just get out for a walk, and that should really help to improve your mood kind of straight away. And then, like I mentioned, getting into green spaces, getting to places with water, maybe trying to find out what the local cute spots are near you and where you stay. All of those things can be really beneficial, but it is quite individual, because I know, for me, going for a walk really boosts my mood, whereas for my partner, playing a PlayStation boosts his mood. So I think it's one of those things that is really kind of individual to you. But definitely from my point of view, it's getting out, it's getting fresh air, and it's moving. And I find that really beneficial to help my well-being and my kind of overall health.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Well then, why is moving and staying active so important, and how can it benefit us?
So, I mean, I think it's got tons and tons of different benefits. You could reel the list off. So obviously you've got all the health benefits, things like weight management, obviously increasing your strength, increasing your core strength, and I think because maybe as students and as sort of the younger generation, we probably don't maybe think about that so much. You think that's more for people who are in their 50s and 60s, but it's really key to start thinking about that now in terms of the kind of health benefits of exercise. But I think just in terms of other things that might not be as much talked about, I mean, obviously if you're getting active, you're exercising, it means your energy levels will increase, which can be really beneficial right now, because if you're waking up and you're just your energy levels just stay completely low the whole day, then your motivation goes down, your kind of creativity levels might go down. So I'm not saying you need to wake up, jump out of bed and you'll be on top of the world, but I definitely find that my getting up isn't too bad, because my energy levels aren't too bad, because I'm always quite tired when I go to bed, so I sleep. That's another thing that activity is really good for, is getting to sleep better, increasing your sleep kind of quality as well, which can be quite a big thing. Obviously, we spoke about before, boosting your mood, boosting your well-being. Now it can be really good to improve memory. brain capacity and stuff like that, and also just concentration. And I mean, yeah, I find it like in terms of what I've spoken about, if I know that I'm going to be doing like a chunk work for like 3 hours and I get like a break and I go outside, that to me just really helps. So it's all to do with kind of mindset too. So there's so many things that it does benefit. Most of them are really, really good. So, you know, it's one of those things that's kind of like, you know, we would advise everybody to try and do more if they're not doing enough already. But yeah, tons of things that can be really beneficial for activity.
Yeah. Well, then advice for like some relaxation and switching off?
I think there's a few different ways that you can kind of switch off, and I think it depends what you're switching off from. I think if you really want to take like a deep relaxation and just really just get your brain kind of like thinking like calm, serene thoughts, then I would always, again, just find out what works for you to kind of calm you down. If it's like having a hot shower, a bath, something like mindfulness, meditation, yoga, so just anything that's going to really, really calm you down. That's that little bit of self-love, self-care. You know, things like lighting candles, just having that really kind of zen space, whether it's like calling friends, calling family. So I think if that's like the real switch off, you kind of want to, again, find out what works for you and just go with that. But I think if we're talking about switching off from things like studying, I think you need to go back to the boundaries. And what I would say was, even if you're in just one space, if you're in a room, try and make a distinct study space if you can, and just make sure that you're not just kind of like working out of your bed or working on the side of your bed or on your sofa. So if you can, try and make like a desk area. And then my advice would be, as soon as you finish, pack it away and just get rid of it, and just make sure that you've got your own space. Like a woman that I spoke to, I think a couple of days ago, she was saying that she was putting her work stuff in her car over the weekend, so she couldn't even see it. And I think that's really key. So if you have like any storage space, you can put stuff away, even if it's just for a couple of hours. It will just get you out of that thought and that brain set, that your room is your kind of like office. And I think that's really important. So I think both of those things are really important. But I think if it's complete switch off, think about self-care and what helps you. If it's switching off from your studying, then just be really conscious that you just don't want like your you time and your study time to overlap too much. I know it's really hard and it's probably easier said than done, but you probably will find the benefits of having that couple of hours or that time in the evening where you do switch off from studies to actually help you in the long run. So it could well be worth investing in.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah. And like, then sometimes if you feel like you can be active, but then also sometimes it just needs like you're just watching Netflix or like stuff like that for them.
Yeah, totally.
Switching off.
And I mean, I think it's like even like programming those like rewards in, like say like I do 4 hours of this and I'm going to give myself an hour of this and I'm not going to check my emails, I'm not going to do that. Like I used to find that really beneficial.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends what you like. I mean, I think the online options, we've got so much. So if you're quite confident and you're into things like your HIIT classes, your yoga classes, your strength classes, your kind of body conditioning stuff, I really think you'll find like an absolute plethora of stuff online. And I would say most of the stuff, particularly from like the gyms, like Strathclyde Sport's got a lot of stuff on its Instagram that you can look back on, is all really kind of enjoyable, safe, effective exercises. So just keep an eye on what you're using, but if you are using a legitimate source, it should be absolutely fine. For those people who aren't that confident in exercising and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'm just starting out, I don't know what to do, I would just really say look at how you can add activity into your day. So look at things like for example, most people will want to get more active. So like I know if I spoke to like a friend and I said, listen, I'm going to go on a walk tonight at 6 o'clock, do you want to call and you go on a walk as well, and we'll walk together and then we'll come back after 45 minutes. And even if we don't live in the same place, we can call each other while we're doing it. Most people would say yes to that. If you live in the same section or the same area as somebody, then you can meet them up for a walk or a jog or something like that. Just trying to find ways to kind of get yourself out of that sedentary position. I think for a lot of people, like exercise and activity can really feel quite intimidating, and for people who don't find it intimidating, you have so many options out there. But I think for those of us that do, then just taking that whole stress away from it and using it as a time to speak to people, to socialize whilst also kind of moving. So I would just say if you weren't active before lockdown, then try and look at it from that point of view. Keep it small, keep it achievable, and keep it accessible. Ask people what they're doing, which is always really useful, and it's always a nice thing as well to kind of reach out to people. But I know, for example, like when I've spoken to my friends, I'm like, oh, how are you keeping fit? It always gives me some really good ideas. getting things that are kind of tiny and that aren't going to cost too much money, like resistance bands, can be quite useful. And again, that's all inside the home, inside your room, so you don't have to worry about getting out there and going to places. And also people who are feeling quite confident with the whole thing, I would say there's lots of different options out there. So it's just picking what suits you and what's practical for you. Because I stay on like a top floor flat. Like for me, HIIT classes aren't particularly practical. Whereas like strength classes are fine. I can do all body weight stuff and I can do core stuff, so it's no bother. So it just depends like what works for you and what's not going to kind of like stress you out or get your neighbors annoyed and all that kind of stuff, and what's going to make you feel like you've done like a good job. Yeah, I would just say people who are kind of coming into that journey, don't overwhelm yourself too much. Just keep it nice and slow, nice and easy to begin with, and getting friends and family involved is a great way to keep you motivated, as well as kind of to give you new ideas about what to do.
Yeah, and that is great. Like I quite often go for a walk and just call like a family or something, and then kind of like,
yeah, me too. You feel like you've really nailed it when you've done like 2 tasks in one. So you've done your walk and then you've called like a parent and you're like, yes. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well then kind of like just do that, like obviously maybe people staying in halls or like somewhere where it doesn't have much space, and like then like if you only have like your room where you could do like some activity, would you have any like tip for that?
Yeah, I think resistance bands can be a good one. I also think in terms of a space to do the majority of classes, as long as you're willing to be a little bit flexible in terms of the exact movements. I think when people follow a class and they think I have to do exactly what the instructor's saying, if it's a good class and the instructor is professional, they should give you options. So just always be conscious that you don't have to be doing like tuck jump burpees. If that's what they're showing you, you can take it back. You don't have to be doing like crazy star jumps, you can take that back too. So always remember that, because I feel like people do sometimes put a bit too much pressure on themselves to keep up with what the instructor's doing. So never be afraid to just tone it down. And if you are in a small space, then there's going to be things that you practically just cannot do. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I would just say adapt things as you need it. You'd be surprised at what you can do in a really small space. So even in a halls, you could definitely do core workouts. You could absolutely do some sort of strength and balance training. And then if you wanted to do something slightly more high intense or something to do with cardio, then I would just utilize the spaces, the outdoor spaces that you have around you. So for example, if you're staying in Strathclyde halls, you've obviously super close to Glasgow Green. Some people might find that like working like just in maybe like the bits outside halls could be a bit much. People can see through windows and stuff like that. I totally get that. But I've been to Glasgow Green and there's people working out there all the time. Shove your headphones in. You can use benches. You can use all of the kind of areas they've got. You can use all the space. So I would say utilize things like that. And particularly like the weather is how it is now, again, just keep an eye on it. Try and get out when it's got some sort of daylight to it and just see what you can do. But if you are feeling that you don't want to be exercising in your room, that would be what I would advise. Try and get out and try and use what you have around you. But yeah, if you are indoors and say, for example, if you're self-isolating, then yeah, resistance bands can be fantastic. You can get great workouts from them too. And then just don't be afraid to modify the exercise if it's not suitable for your environment.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Sports Union members are obviously used to like the competing and like that, like the team aspect of sports and stuff like that. So would you have any tips or advice like how to incorporate that aspect into these times? Like at least I know like I miss the competing and then like challenges, and so sometimes like working out by yourself doesn't give you the same feeling.
So I would say, again, it depends on what you're like. So if you've got a really good group of friends around you and you all want to kind of like sign up to do something together, if you want to try and push yourselves to do something to do with maybe how many steps you might do per day, what distance you can run, what time you can beat of each other, then you can obviously utilize that. But I think if you want something that's slightly more kind of like, let's say like professional, something you can really tap into, then there's so many kind of like apps out there that have really sort of gamified fitness, like the gamification of fitness, that can be really useful for things like this. So even something like Strava, even if you just have like you and your friends, you have some sort of challenge, or you're just putting in your feed where you've done your run, what run you've done, the elevation, etc. You can also do things with like, I think it's called Nike, the Night Running Club, and they'll set challenges for people who sign up for it. Both of those apps are free, and you can also do runnings. If you've got like your headphones in, you can go through runs with them. The trainers will take you through all these different things, which can kind of get that competitive level back up. Even like what we did for the Women in Fitness Day, or the She Can, She Will, when we did the kind of like pass on fitness challenges and the national Fitness Day stuff. I think things like that are just really easy and can be really easily organized by people. And if it is that kind of competitive nature that you're looking for, then a really easy way to do it is just to involve your friends and try and come up with some sort of challenge, fun events that you can do, even if it's socially distanced, that will really kind of like keep you motivated and keep you going.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good. Thank you. Did you have anything else you would like to add to this, or we covered?
No, not really. Just say thank you guys so much for asking me to come along. And if anyone needs any help or advice or anything like that, then absolutely please just give me an email, or you can get in touch with us via our social media channels. But my email is really nice and simple. It's just c.mann, M-A-N-N, @strathclyde.ac.uk. And if you need any help, advice, support with anything to do with activity, to improve your mental health or well-being, then just let me know.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
No problem, Tilda. Thank you very much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.